Hello, planet, and welcome back to Master English with Tim, the podcast where Tim helps you learn English in depth and detail, and without ever hurrying. I'm Tim, native speaker of U.S. English, polyglot, world traveler, of course podcaster, and also English teacher since 2005. So almost 20 years. That's actually really crazy to think about. It doesn't seem like it's been 20 years. Anyway, right now, as I am recording this episode, the 90th episode, I am in Paris, where I will be for the next week. I also spent several days in the east of France, in Strasbourg and a small town called Colmar. My French adventure is still not finished, so I will wait until it's over to tell you all about what I've seen and done here. So yes, you can expect in the next few weeks an episode that will be all about France and how I spent Christmas here. In fact, I will be arriving home on a Sunday, and I have a long flight ahead of me, so I may need an extra day to publish next week's episode too. In this week's episode, though, I'm going to give you a tool to help you speak more like a native speaker without making a huge effort. I don't want to say that what I'm going to talk about today is truly easy, but it's also definitely not super difficult. There is one skill, though, that you need to have first if you want to use this tool correctly and easily. That skill that you need to have is a strong knowledge of auxiliary verbs, which are an absolutely essential part of English grammar and syntax. I already talked about every single English auxiliary verb in episodes 52 through 59, so you might want to listen to those for the first time or review them if you want to get the best possible result from listening to this week's episode. The tool that I want to tell you about in this episode is called a tag question. A tag question is a short question that you add to the end of a statement. Here are 4 examples of statements that have tags on the end of them. 1. You're in the office, aren't you? 2. School starts on Tuesday, doesn't it? 3. You can speak Spanish, can't you? 4. It is getting windy, isn't it? You've probably heard sentences like these before. Ones that end in aren't you, or doesn't it, or can't you, or isn't it, or shouldn't we. In any case, each of the 4 sentences that I just read consists of 2 parts. First, a statement like, you're in the office, and then a negative question like, aren't you? You will hear more details about how to make sentences with tags a bit later, but for now we'll talk about why we use tags. We use tags for 2 different reasons. The first reason is that you are not completely certain about what you say in the first part of the sentence, in the statement, and you want to ask someone if your information is correct. For example, in the sentence, you're in the office, aren't you? You are pretty sure that your colleague is in the office, but you still want to check with someone else. The second reason to use tags is to make a kind of small emotional connection with the person you're talking to. Tags help you do this because you use them to ask the other person to agree with you, often about something that's small or obvious, like in our example, it is getting windy, isn't it? And of course, when people agree with each other, they generally feel more comfortable. Now let's look at some situations where we can use tags. Listen closely because at the end I will give you a small test where you will need to make tags yourself. Okay, so let's imagine the following situation. You're on vacation in Vietnam, and you're hiking in the mountains, in the jungle, with 10 people from your hotel. While you're walking, your foot hits a stone that you didn't see, and you hurt your foot. One of the people in the group says she can fix your foot and promises you that you will walk again in just a few minutes. Maybe you won't walk fast, she says, but you will walk. This is what you say to this person. You are a doctor, aren't you? In fact, listen to the sentence again. You're a doctor, aren't you? Now I want you to say the sentence yourself. Okay, let's analyze each part of this sentence that you just said. First, we have a statement, which is, you're a doctor. This specific statement includes an auxiliary verb, in this case, are, which is a form of be. The second part of the sentence is a negative question, aren't you? We construct negative questions using first an auxiliary verb, then not, then a subject. In this specific negative question, we reuse the auxiliary verb are, which we heard in the first part of the sentence. Let's look at some more situations where we can use question tags. Imagine, for example, that you have a small son who is 1.5 years old. And now an old friend of yours who last saw your son 1 year ago is visiting you. Think about all the changes that happened in your small son's life in that year. Your son looks different, he's bigger and heavier, and he eats lots of different types of food now. But the biggest change of all is that he can talk. After hearing your son speak for the first time, your friend says this: "He can talk well, can't he?" Again, we have the same construction. First, we have a positive sentence with an auxiliary verb. He can talk well. And then we have our tag, can't he, which repeats the auxiliary verb of the first part of the sentence. In this case, your friend easily hears that your small son has learned to talk well, and with the question tag, he is just asking you to agree with him. And remember, when people agree with each other, the connection between them is a little bit stronger. Let's look at another situation. You're riding home from work in the subway, and you're hungry. You were so busy during the week that you didn't have time to buy food, so you gave your roommate a short list of things to buy from the store for you. You gave him the list in the morning, and now you're arriving home in the evening. You open the door and see your roommate. Here's what you say to him. "You have gone to the store, haven't you?" This is the same construction. Positive statement with an auxiliary verb, then a negative question which repeats the auxiliary from the first part of the sentence. You usually trust your roommate, so when you say the first part of the sentence, "You have gone to the store," you are kind of sure that the answer is yes, but you still use the second part of the sentence, "haven't you?" to check if you were right to trust him. In fact, using this tag with your roommate would show him that part of you wasn't completely sure that he would help you. In our example, "You have gone to the store, haven't you?" the auxiliary verb have is used to construct the present perfect verb tense. Let's now think of another situation where you use an auxiliary verb that's always used with a different verb tense. So now, imagine that you've planned a city walk with a friend, and right now you're on that walk. It's about 2 p.m., and the temperature has become noticeably colder very quickly. Your friend says to you, "It's getting colder, isn't it?" Let's do another one with the present continuous. Imagine that you're listening to an English learning podcast that's hosted by a guy named Tim, and that the topic of the podcast is question tags. Tim has already explained what to use question tags for and how to make them. He's even already given you several examples. Here's the next thing that Tim says. "You're starting to understand tags, aren't you?" We have the same construction here. Positive statement with an auxiliary verb that states a fact, then a negative question tag that the speaker uses to check that the listener agrees or thinks the same thing. Okay, enough about these imaginary situations about listening to an English podcast. Let's come back to reality with another situation. Right now, you are in Paris, France, waiting for a train at a train station with your dad. You're both planning to go from Paris to Strasbourg. The train is scheduled to arrive at 12:30, and it's now 12:20. This is what you say to your dad. "The train should arrive soon, shouldn't it?" Okay, let's do one more example before we change things up just a bit. Let's say that tomorrow is a holiday, but also that you need to do just a bit of work at the office. You seem to remember someone saying that the office would be open tomorrow, but you want to check. So you write to your boss and you ask her this. "The office will be open tomorrow, won't it?" So, I promised that after one more example, I would do something a little bit different. Well, I've just given you that example, so now I will do what I promised. I have another example for you, but only one part of it has an auxiliary verb in it. So, let's say that you are out shopping. More specifically, you're in a shoe store and you have a membership card. When you buy a lot of things from the store, you earn points, and when you have enough points, you get special deals like 50% off a pair of shoes. You think you have enough points for that deal, but you want to check, so you go to someone who works at the store and you say this. "I have enough points for a 50% discount, don't I?" This example is different from the previous ones because the first sentence does not have an auxiliary verb in it. When we have this situation, no auxiliary verb in the beginning, The second sentence uses the auxiliary verb do, one of the forms of it. So it could be do, does, or did. Well, don't, doesn't, or didn't, to be more precise. Let's do another one with a form of do in the second part of the sentence. You're again listening to an English podcast. In fact, it's the same podcast you were listening to earlier. The host of the podcast says this: My audience understands tags well now, doesn't it? Actually, I think that with all the examples I've given you, that sentence should be true. But there is an exception in question tags, and honestly, it's a pretty weird and crazy one. Let's start with a situation before I give you this example. You have invited some friends to your house and have cooked them a bunch of hot, delicious chocolate chip cookies. Your friends are eating them and commenting on how good they are. You feel pretty good about yourself and your abilities as a baker. You say the following sentence: I'm a pretty good baker, aren't I? Listen to the sentence again. I'm a pretty good baker, aren't I? Did you notice anything strange or exceptional about the question tag? Well, the thing that is strange is that you say, aren't I? In normal sentences with the verb be, we always use the form am with the subject I. If you said, I are, people would look at you like you're a little bit crazy. But in these end-of-sentence negative question tags, you don't say amn't I. There is no contraction in the English language, amn't. So instead of that, we say aren't I. Okay, you have listened to a lot already, but I told you at the beginning of the episode that I would give you a small test at the end of the episode. It's time for that short test. Now, I will give you 10 sentences that you need to finish with a correct tag. I will read a sentence. Then during the pause, you need to say the right tag. After that, I will give you the whole sentence with the tag so you can check to see if you were right or not. So, number 1, it's getting hot. Correct answer, it's getting hot, isn't it? 2, I'm a pretty good student. Correct answer, I'm a pretty good student, aren't I? 3, you've watered the flowers. Correct answer, you've watered the flowers, haven't you? 4, he can meet us tomorrow. He can meet us tomorrow, can't he? 5, you brought your passport. Correct answer, you brought your passport, didn't you? 6, the prices are too high. Correct answer, the prices are too high, aren't they? 7, we should get ready. Correct answer, we should get ready now, shouldn't we? 8, she goes to the gym every day. Correct answer, she goes to the gym every day, doesn't she? 9, you like pizza. Correct answer, you like pizza, don't you? 10, last one, I'm good at tags. Correct answer, I'm good at tags, aren't I? Okay, that is all for this week. Thanks for listening and see you next week.